we go.
There it is.
There it is. Welcome, comadres.
You have to wonder if like there were people that complained that they didn't know meetings were being recorded.
It must be.
And now all of a sudden, this is what happened.
Turn this off. I'm going to turn it off. It's annoying to me. It's also weird when it stops. Recording has stopped.
Okay, this recording has stopped.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Zoom, for all the things. Welcome, comadres.
Welcome, comadres.
Friday this month.
Oh my God! Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, man. There have been some, and I feel like this year Pride is even more fun because people are a little more out and about in the world and like ready to celebrate. So
yes,
happy Pride.
Wear all the colors of the rainbow and hit the streets. Yes, we are ready.
Awesome. All right, this month, the month of June. Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, baby. That's what's up. This is what we're talking about in June. And this is like such a topic that is near and dear to our hearts and that Jamie and I have been talking about for a very, very long time. And we have a lot to say about it. But first of all, maybe we survey those of you who are on live with us right now. Like, what do you think that you are good at acknowledgement? Like, do you think that you are good at acknowledging others for things and also acknowledging yourself for things? Like,
and how about
the people
accepting it as well too?
Oh, totally.
Like, are you good at accepting acknowledgement?
Yeah. Should we kick it off? Go ahead, Jamie. You kick it off.
I am terrible at it. Across the board, I am terrible at acknowledging others. I am terrible at acknowledging myself, and I am terrible at accepting acknowledgement. Terrible. Yeah. You?
I'm like, I know that I'm not great. I just don't think about it naturally. Like, acknowledgement is something that I have to be very intentional about. And I was telling Jamie that I think the reason that it doesn't come naturally to me is because I personally don't really need it. You know how people, we were talking about, and like, we'll get into it and we'd love to hear from all of you. Like, people whose love language is like words of affirmation, right? And like, let us know if like for you watching live right now, like, is words of affirmation a big deal for you? Because we've had like, Jamie and I have both like even worked with people on the Comadres team for whom words of affirmation is really, really important.
And we've had to work really, really hard.
But it's not important for either one of us because we kind of just like get like rolled into the doing of the thing and we're just excited and refueled by the doing of the thing. And like, for me, that's what fills me up is like the seeing the thing to fruition. And I don't personally need anybody to say, hey, Gaby, good job. Like, I really, really don't. I really, really don't. Like, I'm perfectly happy just going on. But if somebody says it, I'm like, I'm happy to hear it and I receive it. But I could just as easily go and not even notice. Oh, so Kiba, that's your number one love language. Kiba, you got to tell us more. Like, tell us more about what you need.
Yuri says, I don't like how much I need words of affirmation because it's external to me. And if I don't get it, which I can't control, I don't feel validated.
That is so fascinating. Also, how much are you giving yourself words of affirmation, my dear?
Yes.
Remember that was a conversation we had a few months ago? Like, how do you love yourself in your love language? So like, yeah, like I'm wondering, Yuri, what opportunities you have to like, even if you're just looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning, like, how are you like saying beautiful things to yourself? And then you can totally control it. Kiba, if I don't get acknowledgement that I'm at least on the right track, I feel incomplete. Wow, yeah.
Janine, one of my love languages, I love receiving words of affirmations, but I'm not good at giving them. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I'm the same way as Gaby. Like I don't really need them. Like I love the process of the process, right? Like I love just doing stuff. And so to me, I mean, when someone gives them to me, I'm like, oh, thank you. But I'm like, it doesn't matter either way to me. And so then it doesn't even occur to me that not to give them, like to give words of affirmation. And then but then I feel like a jerk because I don't tell people. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm an asshole.
I forget to say them. Yes.
I'm
a
like,
love language.
Wow.
Ooh, interesting. Janine is saying usually our love languages come from what we didn't receive enough of in childhood. And then Sabrina says acknowledgement helps me feel seen. It doesn't have to be affirmations or flowery, but acknowledgement. And it's so interesting because, this is another.
And I hate bullshit. I hate when someone bullshits me with like, good job. Shut the fuck up. That's how I feel.
But it's disingenuous. Yes.
No, that's what I mean. Like, I don't want, like, don't give me like, don't just tell, like, I hate when people do this to kids the most. Like when someone's like, good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. But it's like not real.
It starts to lose its meaning.
That to me is the worst. Like, yeah. I would much rather you say absolutely nothing.
Well, I think it's really fascinating to take it like a few steps back, like what Janine was talking about, like what we didn't receive enough of in childhood. And I keep thinking about one of the exercises that we've done as a team repeatedly is when we talked about like, how do we want to feel? Like in the context of our working relationship, right? And so like Jamie would have, to no surprise to you, words like adventurous, right? And like excited. I would have words like secure and like playful. And then there were people on the team who had very high like words like, I want to feel seen. I want to feel appreciated, which those words are code for acknowledgement, right? Like, yeah, it was like that. This is like, if you have a team, if you're collaborating with people on a regular basis, this is actually a really important and powerful exercise to do, because when you know how that other person wants to feel, it's also like code for a love language, right? Like you already, okay, like now I know that I get to be mindful about saying this out loud, even if it doesn't come naturally to me, because this person that I care about, who I want to feel great and comfortable in our team, needs this, right? So I think I
think the other thing is too, is like, where's also other acknowledgement that's not necessarily like spoken, like written acknowledgement to me is like hits harder than spoken acknowledgement for some reason.
And I think I'm better at that one because I like.
You are excellent at that one. Thank you. I'm terrible at that one because I don't really like to write, but I love receiving it. And then and I think or acts of service, right? If you're an acts of service person, that might be how you are acknowledging that person, right? By doing something like that. But if those two things are never spoken, it doesn't always match up. Right? It's like, oh, I acknowledge that you're working hard or doing a good job or something like that. Because for me, acts of service is my biggest love language. And so when, when I feel not seen is when nobody is helping me with the things in my house or whatever.
Fascinating.
And that to me feels like, it's like, I can bring it back to, they don't see what I'm doing. And then therefore they're not acknowledging that. It's like a whole thing. And then I'm like, oh,
I'm curious.
I do need it. But it's I think you need it in ways.
For those of you who are here right now, how much acknowledgement are you giving your most important relationships? The people in your life that are most important to you, how or whether you are acknowledging them for that. I actually gave my son, we talked about this before, Damien and I. So I had Mati take the love languages test, and he is a very high words of affirmation at the top. And so I have trained myself to encourage him, reaffirm him, congratulate him, notice things and say them out loud. And I just see his little chest puff up, and he just feels all right, I'm killing it. He just gets really excited about that. And I'm just wondering, and I think I've also, I don't know if this has just been me, but I've met a lot of men whose love language is words of affirmation. A lot. I think I just have this an intuitive feeling. I just feel as women, we just keep going because we have to. But I feel men like need to like be like told like, yes, good job, like, yes, like, oh baby, like, oh da, 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 da. So for those of you who have partners that are men, like whether you've noticed that, I'm curious how it's shown up for you. Sabrina says, that is part of how I show care for others, to tell them when I see and value and support in them. Yes, this is so important. And this is such a thing we can practice here in the community, right? Like acknowledging each other.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
And I think that our community does an incredible job of it, even if we're not that great at it.
And we do encourage it regularly, right? When we have those posts where it's like, okay, like tag somebody who's changed your life or somebody who's made an impact in you. All of that is encouraging acknowledgement. What about for you, Jamie, in your relationships?
I'm terrible at this. This is like my worst thing. I'm so bad at it. I move so fast, I like forget all about it. I'm good at celebration though, which is like a form of acknowledgement. I do wait until the end. Like I'm like, oh, we're moving. And then I'm like, this is the thing. Here's the interesting thing. Like my husband is terrible at celebration. Terrible. And so and like in that terribleness, like it's this weird, like in the completions and whatever, it took us a long time to get that evened out. And he's not a big words of affirmation guy either. He's like, no. Because he's like very like personally, like, he's very sure of himself. Yeah. Like he's very like, oh, this is what I do. With my kids, I try a lot harder, like and I try very hard to not like give them the like bullshit stuff. Like,
well,
because I feel like that happens a lot. Like
I always think about that thing that psychologists say, that your inner dialogue as an adult is the way that you were spoken to by the people close to you as a child. Like, and I'm like so hyper aware of that, you know? All right, so we've got some feedback here.
It's not a priority for my husband. He responds much more to a hug or an act of service. He has had to learn to affirm me more. That's from Kiva, and that's totally true. Like I think, like, yeah, my husband's love language is physical touch, and so like it's this like back and forth of what he's like really in his head most of the time, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the scientist who like loves to touch. That's a great way to get him out of his head.
Yeah, exactly. But he's like, to conjure up like, oh, I should be like affirming that people are doing a good job that is not his way at all. Janine, I show love from gifts and celebration. I enjoy being celebrated, so I believe everyone should be too. And I won't forget for anyone close to me. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, what's the difference between like when I started thinking about it, I was like, I really love celebration, but that really is an end game. So like acknowledgement could be happening all the way through. I mean, celebration could be too, but like, is this like, oh, like acknowledging the effort, acknowledging the like space, acknowledging the way of being. Like there's so much to it that I need to work on.
And I found that like this I discovered early, like the very first time that I was really like managing people, like in my early 30s, I realized that like my acknowledgement turns all the way up if I sense that like my team is being treated unfairly. So like if I had to like step in and defend the people, I was like, listen, y'all are badasses. Like nobody's gonna fuck with you. Like I'm gonna protect you. Like I feel like the like sort of like, you know, the defender came in and like I wanted to make sure that like they knew their value and their contributions were important, kind of in the context of something going down, which is also like an interesting way to sort of justify it. Like why not?
Exactly. Like why not say it all the time so that they would not be unsure.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, so there's different pieces to acknowledgement, right? Like there's the acknowledgement of others, which we've been talking about, and how important that is. And I think how important that is also in the context, as Jamie was saying, we do it so well in this community, I think, like really like seeing each other and seeing each other fully and seeing each other for what we contribute to each other's lives, and like verbalizing that or demonstrating that and acknowledging that in some way. But then there's also the acknowledgement of self, which is a whole other ball game, right? So like if we take a deep breath and sort of go into that door, what is that for you? Do you acknowledge yourself? And kind of as we kick it off, like really the practice of acknowledgement is something I learned in a coaching relationship with a previous coach. And I learned about it in the context of it as this almost like missing piece that we often forget about. Like, let's say that we're working to create something in our lives, right? And then we go through like the ups and downs of it, and we forget a little bit the intention, but we're kind of moving through it, and then we get it. And then what many of us do right after we get it is we just move on to the next thing that we want, right? Like the moment we have it, we're already like jumping over and we're
wait. Or even when it's like the moment before you have it.
The moment before you have it, you're already thinking about the next thing.
When you know you're about to get it, you're like, oh, to the next thing.
So, okay, so like truth time, like how many of you are like this? Because I'm totally like this. Like I have to so consciously take a breather to acknowledge things before I jump into the next thing. And that's precisely like that. When we do that, when we go through that pattern and we don't acknowledge ourselves for what we have created, we are in a way self-sabotaging, and we are not fully integrating the magnitude of our power. Because basically we're treating it as though it was a fluke. We're treating it as though it was luck or a fluke, or it's just like,
it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Like it's not a big deal. When it's like, no, comadre, you did that. You created that. And what would it like feel like to consciously take a day to just be like, well, look at me. Like, look at the amazing shit that I just created. Well, right? Like, yay, me. Like, even if you give yourself a little party and fully integrate and recognize everything you brought to this point. Like, that's amazing. The other thing that Jamie and I learned to do, which is a really cool practice, and we've talked about it several times in this community, is the acknowledgement box. Where you literally write like in little post-its, you write like, here's the thing that I did, and you like put it all into an acknowledgement box as a reminder of your fucking power.
And then you read them later.
Yes, you read them.
Because here's the other,
forget how powerful you are.
I know someone who was like, yeah, I use the acknowledgement box. And I was like, oh, what does it feel like when you read it? They were like, read it. You just stick them in there, you read it. And like the purpose of reading it is like to read it either A, when you're like in the moment of celebration, but also B, to read it when you are in the space of like, I don't know if I can do the next thing, right? So like, what does that feel like to be able to like, oh, wait, I have some evidence that I have done this before, even if it's not the exact thing. It's like, oh, I know how to do hard things. I got it. No big deal.
All right, so let's see. Sabrina's sharing, acknowledgement is useful for hard moments rather than toxic positivity just to push through. It's not only positive affirmation, sometimes acknowledging the things that are hard or not ideal and let that be seen. Yeah, acknowledge the fullness of the experience, right? Like it's a whole experience with light and dark. And like, just like, I think another thing that's really, really important and why we do those Wednesday wins in the community is like, even acknowledging like the little baby steps along the way. Like it might seem,
I think not even, I think most importantly.
Yes.
Because it's easy to acknowledge big stuff. It's much harder to be like, oh, I got up at the
I cleaned my inbox this morning,
I inbox out. I cleaned up the 75 post-it notes that are always on my desk. Like that's the stuff that like I ate a healthy meal, right? Like those are the things that really like deserve you recognizing for yourself to keep yourself on the right path.
Jamie, could you tell the story of your dad and how he does the accomplishment list? I love this
Okay.
story.
Okay, so my dad, if y'all don't know, if you haven't heard very many stories about my dad is like an interesting character. He's like a total woo, and he's like, he's always pretty positive and happy, and whatever. He kind of goes through life like, oh, all right, everything's pretty good. So he used to write a lot of to-do lists, and then he wanted to feel, and then he was like, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting enough. You keep adding to your list, it keeps getting longer. You always have more stuff. So then he started making the done list at the end of the day of all the things that he did. And very often a nap shows up on his list.
Nap, and then he crosses it.
So he goes through and he writes all the things that he's done. And like the man, I mean, he lives in some level of peace that we all should attain. But like, he's like,
your father would fit right in Las Comadres at a level that I cannot explain.
Oh,
he should be a special guest one day.
He should be leading us all, right? Honestly, like.
So imagine, I'm so excited about that. Like doing so how many people here would love to do, and actually that might be like a really cool June challenge. Instead of doing to-do lists, do accomplishments at the end of the day, like done lists at the end of the day. At the end of every day, what did you actually accomplish as opposed to like, what will you do? And just for like a welcome shift in perspective.
Well, and that's the beauty of it, is that the shift in perspective, like for him, he was like, my to-do list keeps getting bigger. So my done list, he's like, I get everything done on it.
I know.
But it's like, it really is this shift in like, oh, what was some self-care? Oh, what felt really good at the moment? Oh, what was I happy that I like, maybe it wasn't on the to-do list and I got it done. Oh, maybe that was what was needed to be done in the moment, right? And like that kind of stuff, I think really can like shift the way you think about yourself, which is, I mean, the whole point of acknowledging like acknowledging your acknowledgments, right? Is like, is the space of like being able to like tell yourself that you're a good human. Like that's it. Like the whole reason is to like, oh, I can go further and do more stuff. So
yes, Jenny, a done list.
A done list.
That's what's up. I think that there's like, it's so important to have this conversation because there is like an inherent vulnerability in acknowledgement. Like it's almost like built in, right? Like it takes us out of the hyper capitalism pressure that you just have to keep performing all the time.
And
producing and right, like, and it like that like hyper productivity mode, and it pulls us into a space of being to just be like, well, look at that, like let me acknowledge and recognize like what I actually accomplished. And one of the things, and we talk about this in the mastermind all the time, like when I ask for people to acknowledge themselves, like it's about like people's instinct is so immediately to say something worthwhile, quote unquote, right? Like to say like, oh, but I don't really have anything to accomplish. I mean, to acknowledge myself for. And in the meantime, like they've been doing this like remarkable like spiritual healing work. They've been like going through hell and back in their relationships and come out like, okay, like, but those things aren't seen as worthy. The things that they are socialized to acknowledge themselves for are like, oh, like I completed a launch successfully, or like I like did this, like it's these very sort of like quantitative, like clear, straightforward business results, but we're not taught to value and acknowledge the journey that got us there and all the beingness that you had to step into and the like soul work that you had to do in order to be able to accomplish the things, or just for the sake of itself.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the piece of it is too, is like that the taking a nap or the saying no or the like, going into the dark night of your soul and coming back out, or even just going, maybe just going. I'm not even gonna say coming out, right? Like that those things are not in that space of worthiness. And then there's also so much of the process, right? Like when I get to the point where like when things are working and whatever, like that feels like an accomplishment, but usually it's back at step 2 that is really the accomplishment, that I kept going, like the thing worked, then it didn't, and it failed, and I had to like figure out some like really hard other thing and whatever. That's the part that was hard. The rest is usually like, all right, that's a cool accomplishment. But like the hard part is like, oh, I learned this brand new like system or thing or whatever, and you know, transmuted that into the thing I really wanted working. So it's like, oh, really acknowledging like all the pieces in it.
I mean,
and how you handle yourself. I think that's like another one. Like when faced with like adversity, when faced with good and bad things like showing up, I think that like your mental health on these things, I think your like general attitude for a lot of these things, like I don't know. That's my thoughts. I have a lot of very strong feelings for someone that's really bad at this.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying, because so much of the time, like think about anything that's been worthwhile to accomplish, right? Like anything that has really meant a lot. Like there was probably a moment when you wanted to give up. A moment in
more than one.
You were like, there's one too many obstacles here. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And like getting through that moment like warrants more acknowledgement, like Jamie said, than sometimes even reaching the end goal.
Always.
So like that consciousness of how that happens in the meantime. But I just really love like what it does to you. Like, and I know like for somebody like me, I just want to be honest, like this conversation felt pointless for a very long time, because like I was like, what's the point? Like, I don't need this. Let's just keep going. And it was that like conditioning of hyper productivity mode. Like the only way that my time has value is if I am spending it in the production of something. Like, why, if I don't need to hear this, why should I make time for that? Right. And so like it is a total dropping into your heart and into your body like experience that then like weaves in. Here's the part that I like, my favorite part about acknowledgement is like, listen, what are the things that we all complain about the most? Imposter syndrome, like insecurity and fear and doubt about whether we can do the things. Guess what happens when you acknowledge yourself on the regular? Guess what happens when you have a whole ass box of all of the things that you have acknowledged yourself for that you can read at the drop of a hat anytime? It's a lot less likely that you are going to fall into the bullshit patterns of imposter syndrome and those ideas that are old stories and old limiting beliefs, because you are surrounded by evidence of the opposite. And you have been cultivating like the truth of your experience and your power over a period of time, so that the next time that imposter syndrome rears its head, you're like, this is a lie. This is not real. Like, I can keep going, right? So that
and
is
I
like,
think you're ready to receive it. Like you're ready to receive it from others, and you're ready to receive it from yourself. Like you don't like you're like trying to convince yourself of the thing. Like you're not in the moment of imposter syndrome and trying to convince yourself of the acknowledgement that doesn't, neither one of them is like feels true, right? You can be like, totally. I have evidence, and this evidence makes me feel this way. And so I like this.
Totally.
All right. I'm gonna get better at this. This is my goal of this month, is to get better at the actual acknowledgement of the people and myself. Sabrina, in the community, we can be reminded of these successes when we see others celebrating them. Yes, you ate a healthy meal. Yes, you tackled the hard conversation. Yes, you remember to use your kids' love language. Yes, the momentum is real. So the done list sounds awesome. Yes,
I'm telling you,
the done list is awesome. I have
the challenge of the month.
And I know that, like, I know you, Gabby reminds me, I forget about it all the time. This is like one of those things that, like,
I know it's your story and you forget about it.
I do all the time. Because my dad told me, it was so my dad that I was like, yeah, that's exactly how he operates. So we're good.
I've given that as homework, Jamie. Like, I'm giving dad's practice as homework to my clients.
We're gonna call it something good, man. Totally.
All
right. So, should we acknowledge some people in our community?
I think we should. A big part of what we wanted to do today as well is acknowledge some of the people in this community, because this is part of what we're going to do all month long. But this is part of how we see each other, right? Like how we make space to recognize each other for our growth, for our showing up, for just our light, just by being.
And it's always interesting. I mean, community is not running without anybody else. Like this is this community is not me and Gaby. It's never been either.
It's about all of us.
It's all about all of us. And that is the piece of it is that like this is not moving forward. This is not, as supportive. This is not any of the things without all of you doing all the things that you guys do. Yeah. So
can I just start by acknowledging the amazing comadres that are here right now? Janine, Jenny, Kat, Kiva, Sabrina, Solange, and Virginia. Thank you for being live with us in this conversation. We acknowledge you for being in a intentional conversation about acknowledgement and having this shared intention with us this month, and all of the amazing, beautiful things that can come to your life when you spend your month in acknowledgement.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Should we start with Madrinas?
We should totally start with the Madrinas. I'm gonna say some names, and then you can start talking about all the things. Miss Mio, our own Mio Santana.
I mean, Mio gets it done, man. Like it's always amazing to me, like all the different pieces. I mean, she has done for this community. She reaches out to so many others and really like sees people, and that to me is like the essence of so much of this community. And let me tell you, running that dating salon over there's a lot of conversation going on in there. So if you're not in the salon, you should go.
If you are dating and you haven't joined the dating salon, get on it. There are a lot of big fans.
You don't even have to be dating, man. I'm in there just observing. I'm like,
oh yeah, me too.
Over here.
Listen, and while I was dating, it was incredibly helpful too. Like it gave me a lot of hope to be like, I'm not in this alone. Like this feels hopeless and like it will never end. But I'm like glad to be with my comadres. I think another person another thing to highlight Mio for is just like the level at which she just went for it this past year. Like around the summer last year, Mio was like, I am going to grab my business by the horns and just like move this baby forward. And she has done it and then some. Like she has given herself all in. So if you are in like that moment, like right before like making big moves with your business, give Mio a call. Like, I am sure that like her momentum will be like felt and shared. But somebody else that just came to mind for similar reasons is our newest madrina, Miss Steph. Hot damn.
Well, she's actually not our newest madrina. We have a new madrina.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, one of our new
We'll make that announcement in a minute.
But yes, Miss Steph Lee, who we all know and love, because Miss Steph Lee
she's out to everybody.
Because she has decided exactly. That's why we all know and love her. Because so you guys, you should know the behind the scenes of the story. Steph decided to become a like one comadre welcoming committee to every single person who ever joined this community. And legit, Jamie and I had no idea.
No, like we out because other people told, because everybody told, oh yeah, I talked to Steph. Oh, I talked to Steph. Oh, I talked to Steph. And I was like, Steph reaching out to everybody? Let's find out what's happening over here.
And she was
one woman welcome committee. So then we made her Regina and made it official.
Absolutely. And that is another person who has had like, oh my God, a remarkable amount of growth in this community.
In the last year especially, like the last 2 years, but like really the last year she has done the work on herself and her business.
And really I think so much of it has come from acknowledgement. Because she's always talking about those moments where like other people reflect back to her what they see. And she was like, what? Who's that? Who are you talking about? But like she heard it enough times that she couldn't ignore it anymore. And then it became her reality, right? Like she started to believe the way other people saw her, which like, what a beautiful example of acknowledgement, y'all. Like, yes, Steph is incredible. All right. How about Miss Esther, our sweet comadre in the countryside in Spain, who set us up on Mighty Networks, y'all? Like,
I was gonna say, y'all, Mighty
responsible.
Networks wouldn't exist. Wouldn't even
Without.
exist without Esther, because me and Gabby could not have pulled that off that summer. There was no way.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And in her like beautiful, amazing, organized support of all those things. I mean, basically anything Comadres behind the scenes,
Esther is behind it.
Esther is behind it.
Yes.
Our beautiful logo.
Important thing about acknowledgement, because a lot of these things, a lot of the people that we're talking about, and for those of you who don't know, maybe are newer, our madrinas are comadres who have taken on a leadership role in the community. They're leading something big. They are just like really like stepping up on another level, and they become our madrinas, which means godmother. And so these are people, a lot of them who have been here from the very beginning or like close to the beginning, who have like just contributed in this special way. And so a lot of these contributions often happen behind the scenes, but that's what acknowledgement is all about. So here we are.
Yes. All right. Miriam,
our dear Miriam, who we know and love, our dear artist, who is also hosting the afternoon co-workings. If you have not attended those or are not aware of those, or if you're not a morning person, or if you're in the West Coast, there is a second co-working that happens every single month. It happens on a Tuesday. I think it's the third week of the month. Mm-hmm. At 1:30 p.m. Yes, we love Miriam Janine. She hosts that co-working, and it was really like, that's the beauty of the initiative of these madrinas. She loved the original co-working, and she said, like, I think we need more of this. I'm getting so much done. Let's do another one. And so there it is. There's a second.
Well, I mean, and she was one of the ones that was hosting it in person.
That's right.
Before we went online. She used to have an afternoon one, which was lovely because there was always lovely cheese boards.
Oh my God. I'm still waiting for Miriam to host, like, to have a class, like a special course on like how to host, right? Like, she'll look amazing. She'll smell amazing. Her house will look incredible and impeccable. She'll have this most beautiful cheese plate you've ever seen in your life. Like, that's Miriam for you. Yeah.
That is Miriam. Yeah.
I love it. Miss Christina Francois.
I mean, the fact that Christina Francois lets us be friends with her is like kind of amazing. If y'all don't know Christina Francois, she's taking over the world.
She's taking over the world.
She is running our Own Your Power salon. She has helped Comadres, I mean, since day one. Like, she has been there to lead and help us like just manage the things and get everything, like, you know, how do we show up in the community? How do we show up as our true selves? How do we really like have an anti-racist practice? How do we do good in the world? And yes,
absolutely. And Christina has been a fan and a supporter of Comadres. She's referred a lot of Comadres to this space, and she's just a badass. We're so proud to have her as part of the community and have her as one of our madrinas leading our way.
I can't wait until we can just elect her to a good position.
I know. I don't know if Christina's going to run for office, but like, I know that people like her should be running for office.
Yes.
That's what I know for sure. What about Miss Madeline from Colorful Cute?
I mean, first of all, Madeline's growth in the last year, she opened a store, a physical store in the middle of a pandemic, and is killing it.
And is blowing up. It's blowing up. Madeline is absolutely one of those people who are helping us behind the scenes. So Madeline has helped us with like running Facebook ads and like setting up all those campaigns and thinking through strategy for our community. So she's been really helpful in those behind the scenes things that like are really, really important in like helping this community run, and just all the different pieces that go on that maybe not everybody sees, but she's been like an immeasurable support in that regard for us.
and, fixing any questions we have in those regards. Like, even in her ridiculously busy life, she's always has answers for us.
Yes, she
All
finds a
right.
little corners to give us brilliance.
How about Tina?
Miss Tina. See, like a bunch of us actually participated. So I think that Tina should host this again. So Tina at the beginning of the year hosted a 13-week book club, primarily made up of comadres, on the book The Artist's Way. I was part of it. It was phenomenal. And it was absolutely incredible. So that's something that if you're interested in, nudge her, Tina Dominguez. She's also the one who runs our gift exchanges. So we're actually scheduled to have a gift exchange sometime soon. So last time we did it was over the holidays. We just have it's an opportunity to have a fun gift exchange with our comadres. So don't worry, you'll get a form, you'll find out how it works, but it's like a nice little gift that you get in the mail from a fellow comadre. And it's a really sweet way of being there for one another. I think especially in the middle of a pandemic, it was such a nice little treat to get something in the mail from us. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So Miss Tina, like she loves managing those kinds of like special programs and projects for us.
Yes. All right.
How about
Daniela?
Yes, I was just going to mention her. Daniela Veras. Where could we even begin with the magic that is Daniela Veras?
I mean, Daniela is like, the beauty of Daniela is that she lives in the ethers, and all you have to do is call her, and then she shows up in a way that is like more earthly than anyone else, right? Like she is like the most like, what do you need? I'll do the thing. I'll come for you. What I got you, right? And like, I mean, Gaby and I have known Daniela like both separately for a very, very long time. We have both worked on many projects with her. We have both like done things, and like she's a level of support, like it's unreal.
It was so amazing that we had known Daniela separately, and felt like just as passionately about her, and had both been friends and collaborated with her. So she is unconditional, and when she shows up full force. We are almost up here. We have Mariana Lopez, your sister circle hostess with the mostest, who many of you are going to her retreat coming up.
I am. I'm so excited. And I think that the beauty of Mariana is her ability to hold space. Like her ability to be like, one, to hold space in celebration, and two, to be able to hold space in hard conversations. I mean, she just does things in a way where you are just, I mean, it's a remarkable trait. I mean, she also, helps us with all kinds of other stuff, and, coaches Gaby and I through life and all of the things.
I mean, I don't know if you know, but Daniela's like our resident accountability expert, right? Like
Mariana
is. Sorry?
So Mariana.
Yeah. Mariana is our resident accountability expert. So Mariana like has always been really passionate about accountability, helped us put that program together from the very beginning, and continues to support us when we do accountability matches and to keeping those going. So she's just like, she has a lot of knowledge about it. She's very passionate about it. So beyond the sister circle, that's where she shows up. And we are saving our sister Allie for last. Our dear Allie. Oh my God, what can you even say?
I mean, dude, Allie, heart and soul. I mean, she just like, her ability to show up for Comadres, for Gaby and I, like to really just like hold all of the space, all of the energy. I mean, she's helped. Her and Marlene are running the Mystics Corner, which is like a really cool space inside Comadres, but like really like every enrollment, every single event, every single thing that we are putting together, like Allie is behind that scene. Always. And just really like
energy, she's talking to the people, she's doing her witchery, like something is going on, or sometimes all of the things are going on at the same time. She's just absolutely unconditional, and she's like part of the heart and soul of this community for sure. for sure. And it's gotten through some really gotten us through some really, really challenging moments where we didn't know what we were going to do with Comadres in this pandemic. And she was right there to help us strategize, to lend a hand. Like, she's absolutely phenomenal. And so
to host some lunch breaks.
Yes. And I want to take this moment to acknowledge the incredible Jamie Nolan.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Like, Jamie, you're just like a fucking badass. And I adore you. And you're my sister for life.
And I acknowledge you because, listen, you have had a year of transformation and have stayed so true to yourself. So
thank you. Thank you. Which is
you're welcome.
It's so beautiful, because it is what Jamie has always preached and what she has always wanted for me. And I feel like I have been living this year, like, making Jamie Nolan proud. And that is a good year.
You really have, man. All right. I want to acknowledge like some other comadres very quickly, because I think we have like a lot of people that do stuff behind the scenes that nobody, like, people see, but you know, it is not just about the bigger roles, but like the things that people are doing. So first, I think we should acknowledge Ilona.
Yes.
Ilona, because she is our newest madrina. She just said that she would be a madrina in the last couple days. So she is our newest madrina. She's going to be helping host Cafecito, and she's going to be hosting one of them, and she's going to help me behind the scenes on some like all the back end stuff of it. But she shows up all the time, and she's always got a definition for us, and really like brings in those conversations.
You know that Ilona always has the dictionary definition of the word and just gets into this really deep, beautiful explanation.
Yes.
So good. Right.
I would also like to acknowledge Shveta, Arlie, and Mio. They have all only missed one random coffee since we started.
That's incredible.
So they are saying yes to random coffee every single month. And they are really, even if you don't see them in you see me on lots of the things, but like Shveta and Arlie, you know, can't be at all of the different events, but they are behind, like they are in Comadres in a way that really connects with the people. And that's their experience in here.
Also a reminder, random coffee is really magic.
It really is.
If you are looking to bring and call something into your life, tie that intention to random coffee intros and just see who the universe places in front of you. I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, next time you get one of those emails, if you haven't in a while, like, opt in, see who you want to connect with. You will never connect with the same person twice. And even if you connect with somebody that you already know, maybe there's a conversation that you haven't had, or maybe there's an opportunity to deepen that relationship. So putting that out there, Comadres.
All right, our top members on Mighty Networks: Mio, Ali, Solange, Angelique, and Deidre.
Nice. Congratulations to all of you for your high engagement.
Yes, and there's like different categories, and it's very interesting to see like where you're engaging and like in using the network to really be able to do that.
That's beautiful.
I also want to acknowledge Solange for all the stuff that she is doing. Come on. I mean, first of all, the sensuality and pleasure salon, then the sensuality and pleasure
gatherings,
then all of the engagement. Then she shows up to every single coaching call and really has great advice for everybody on all of these things. And like, she really is just doing such cool and amazing things in her life. Like, she that to me.
Best shout out yesterday on her.
She did. Story. It was so good.
She's like, if you ever hear me talking about Comadres and how I'm killing it, that's what it is. I'm taking over the world. Get ready, people.
I love
Solange. We will be there at the beginning, right before Solange took over the world. We knew her
because she is going to take over the world. And then Marlene for all of her moon reports and holding us in such a high light and making sure that Comadres is knowing what's happening in the world of the mystics.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we would never end if we highlighted everybody. But I think that like the point of this conversation has been just how important it is to for us to see each other and really speak out loud our appreciation for one another and the impact that we're having in each other's lives. It's so huge and it's so important. And it's such a big part. Like if it's something new for you, as it was for me a few years back, I'm really inviting you to use this month as practice. Maybe you can use this community and just say, hey, like, you don't even need to have had like a conversation with somebody. Like if somebody said something in this space that meant something to you, you can direct message people through Mighty Networks. Just like send them a quick note, let them know that they said something that impacted you, that resonated with you. Like start a conversation, agree to be matched on a random coffee and see who you're matched with. Like make those small little moments and those small little interactions count, and make space to see each other, because that's something that, my God, if you spent the next 30 days practicing that in this space, you can like be ready to do it with the people in your life, with your friends, with your coworkers, with whoever it is, with your family, and just see the impact of when you actually see people. Right? It's just a beautiful way to be present with the people that you love and to let them know that you see them, and everybody wants to feel seen. And so this is how we can do it, comadres. And also don't forget to do it for yourself as well.
I think that doing it for yourself is kind of the most important piece. I feel like we missed somebody though.
Who did we miss?
Natalia.
Oh my God.
I mean, Natalia Giordano stepped up in a way, like we wanted to have an anti-racist practice and she's like, I'm going to do this. I teach at a university and I am going to come into Comadres and be able
100%.
to host an anti-racist circle. Is like the gift that she gives us for that is so amazing. And I'm sorry that we waited this many minutes to say this, but like it really has been transformative for our community as well as personally for each and every one of us.
Yeah, so, no, the space that she holds here is so special and is so needed. I mean, we did like when we did our census, comadres, we recognized like so many of the women, especially like so many of the women in this community are like largely identify as white or biracial, and like there's an opportunity for us to have a conversation around race and privilege and what our role gets to be, that's unique and different, and we need a special kind of space to hold that. And Natalia Giordano has taken on that and run with it in this really beautiful way. And a reminder that those anti-racist circles over the course of the summer are going to happen in the evenings. So those of you who haven't been able to come because it was happening at 1:30, you can come in the evenings now. And those invites are already all set on Mighty Network, so you could just click on the events and come and join us for that. I know there are a lot of women in this community who have been curious about those conversations but haven't quite made the leap to attending. We are asking you to prioritize it. Just because this is not on the headlines every day, it doesn't mean that it's any less important.
Yes, even more so.
All right.
We are in our month of acknowledgement, y'all. So this
month's gonna be like one big heart. Like that's all it is. It's like one giant heart coming at you, whether you're ready or not. A lot of love.
Lots of love, lots of, really being able to be seen, like really letting yourself feel it for yourself, like all the things that you've done in your life, even if they don't feel huge, those are the things to acknowledge even more. We've got lots of cool things happening this month. All the events are up, so go see them.
Go check them out. All right, comadres, have a beautiful weekend.
Comadres, we acknowledge you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mwah. Talk to you soon. Bye.